The idea for today's video was brought to me in the comment section by Unslap23, and he told me that I should make a video for the top 5 reasons why the Mets should sign Trevor Bauer or JT Realmuto. Now, for me, I think that pitching is a bigger priority, so today's focus is going to be 5 reasons why the New York Mets should sign Trevor Bauer. If you guys like this video, make sure to leave a like. Always helps the video out, helps more people be able to see it and be able to watch it. Also, comment down below, is there a video you would like to see? And if I think that's a good idea and something that other people would like to see, I'll definitely be sure to make that video. And also comment, what do you think about the potential of the Mets getting Trevor Bauer? What reasons should they or should they not go after him? And as always, you can press the subscribe button. Makes my day, working to get to 400 subscribers. So if you already are subscribed, tell a friend to subscribe. And we can just keep the channel growing and keep communicating in the comment section. So I think that Trevor Bauer, he's becoming a bigger priority now following Charlie Morton going to the Braves. I made a whole video about that. I just think that now, in order to just compete with a rotation like the Braves, you got to make a big move in your rotation to match up with it. You have to keep in mind just how bad the rotation was last season for the Mets. You know, bringing in guys like Rick Porcello and Michael Wacha, neither one of them worked out. Steven Matz took a huge step back and looks like he can't be counted on to be a guy in the rotation, which wasn't the thing in the past. It was like, okay, we feel like you can count on Matz. You can't say that anymore because he's just been far too inconsistent, and last year was just a very bad year for him. Robert Gsellman, you can't trust him to be a starter either, and I think that for Seth Lugo, he really is best suited in the bullpen because we know how much the Mets have struggled there. He's the only really reliable pitcher you could trust, you know, guys on base and things like that. Lugo is the guy I trust, so I would love to have him in the bullpen. So now, that leaves me a rotation of DeGrom, Marcus Stroman, and David Peterson because we still have to wait for Syndergaard to come back because he is hurt. So going to opening day, you still have at least 2 more rotation spots to fill in. And I think that having Trevor Bauer being one of those guys to fill in would be great. A combination, a 1-2 of DeGrom and Bauer is like unbelievable. It'd be the best 1-2 combination in baseball. It could match up with anybody. Even the Braves of Soroka and Fried, DeGrom and Bauer is just as good, probably even better, I would say, because of how well Bauer pitched in the postseason against the Braves. That's one of the main reasons why the Mets should do it, because Bauer could have success against the Braves. When you have a team like the Braves in your league that have such good starting pitchers, it's just so important to match up with it. And I feel like with DeGrom and with Bauer, it gives you a much better opportunity. So the number one reason why the New York Mets should sign Trevor Bauer is he won the Cy Young last year. I mean, how could you say no to having a Cy Young Award winner with the guy who won the previous 2 Cy Youngs and in a full 162-game season and everybody playing a bunch of different teams, DeGrom could have won the Cy Young again. You know, Bauer had a great year, played some weaker competition than Jake, but I do think that in a full year, everybody playing tough competition, Jacob deGrom is the best pitcher. And if Bauer came to the Mets, they would have the same schedule, and we would really get to find out who is the better pitcher between deGrom and Bauer. But either way, starting pitching is so important. I mean, I talk about it just about every video, but it's worth noting because when you look at the previous champions, the teams that go all the way, they do it with starting pitching. Every single one of them. When the Astros won it, they had starting pitching. When the Nationals won, obviously, starting pitching. Even when the Red Sox won, starting pitching. You can go on and on with all these different teams that had a really good rotation, and it was the main reason why they were able to win the World Series. Just the Los Angeles Dodgers this year, pitching. They used so many different pitchers, whether it was Goslin or May or Urias or Kershaw or Buehler. You know, you go on and on with all different pitchers that the Dodgers use, starting pitchers in particular, and it becomes so important for starting pitchers that those guys end up becoming your big-time relievers. The way Julio Urias, a starting pitcher, ended up becoming the Dodgers' most effective bullpen arm. That's how important starting pitcher could be because Urias was able to go multiple innings compared to not every big-time reliever could do that, you know? And they get tired much easier. Starting pitchers, they have a stronger arm. They can pitch more innings, so it allows you to get more outs. And I think that if you want to be a team that wants to be competitive and you want to win a World Series in 3 to 5 years, you're going to need a rotation to do that. And if you have a guy who's the reigning Cy Young Award winner to be with Jacob deGrom and in between, you know, with Syndergaard right behind him and Stroman after that, that's a pretty good rotation. That'd probably be one of the better rotations in the league. So that's my main reason why the Mets should go after Trevor Bauer. My second reason is because of just how bad the Mets were with their rotation last year. If the Mets already had a good rotation and they were pitching well, you wouldn't need Bauer as much. You're like, okay, we have bigger needs. Maybe we should go after a Realmuto or another catcher instead because it's such a problem. Maybe our offense didn't do well. We should go get some hitters. That's not the case. The Mets' biggest struggle was the starting rotation. All these times with Gesellman and Matz and Waka, where they went 2 innings, 3 innings, 4 innings, that meant so many innings out of your bullpen. When a team that does not have a good bullpen, that makes it harder. And that's another reason why I should get Bauer. It makes your bullpen better because more innings by your rotation means less innings from your bullpen. So anytime the Mets have their relievers out there not as much, that automatically makes the Mets better. Automatically. Because you know that their bullpen isn't great. And since they have such other weaknesses like starting pitching, like catching, they aren't going to do too much to their bullpen. I imagine they'll do a little bit, but not a whole lot. So just the fact that Bauer alone could make your bullpen better, that is another big reason why you should sign. My third reason for why the Mets should sign Trevor Bauer is because of the Noah Syndergaard injury. If Syndergaard was his normal self and the Cy Young caliber pitcher that people think he could be, at a quality number 2, behind Jacob deGrom, wouldn't be such a big deal. But the problem is there's 2 things. Number 1, the fact that Syndergaard's out. So you know that for the beginning of the year, you're not going to have him. You need somebody to fill in and be a good pitcher behind deGrom. And number 2, if Syndergaard comes back and is not his normal self and does not pitch well, it's a good thing that you have Trevor Bauer to pick up the slack. Because if you didn't, if you just rely that, you know what, we're going to get Syndergaard back and we have Stroman and we have Peterson, maybe even Lugo, we could get by with what we have. Let's just get an Odorizzi or a Tanaka or somebody like that. And Syndergaard is not his normal self, you're in big trouble because you don't have Trevor Bauer. He's with the Blue Jays. Maybe Bauer's with the Angels or the Padres or another team. You never know where he could end up going. So the Mets, you can't let that happen. You cannot take that risk since you have the money, especially after the Cano deal. I think that giving Bauer a crazy 1-year deal is not a bad idea. I think it's a win-win for both sides because obviously the Mets desperately need the rotation help. And I think for Trevor Bauer, even for him, if the market isn't crazy this year, if he could have another great year and let baseball owners get their money back and be more willing to spend in the next offseason, it might be a better decision business-wise for Trevor Bauer. We know she cares about business and marketing and all that stuff. It might be a win-win for both sides. So that's just one thing to consider. The number 4 reason why the New York Mets should sign Trevor Bauer is rotation depth, which the Mets do not have. We talked about they just need a starting rotation to begin with. You know, they still need at least 2 more guys to fill in for the rotation just for this year. But if somebody gets hurt again, if Syndergaard has another injury, or Stroman, or God forbid deGrom, or any other starting pitcher, who are the Mets going to turn to? Nobody, because they have no rotation depth, because they still need 2 starting pitchers, and then you would need another one. So, if somebody were to get hurt, at least you still have Bauer in your rotation. You know, that would just make it so much easier to, again, just like pick up the slack for somebody not performing. If David Pearson gets hurt or Stroman gets hurt, just having Bauer in there will still make your rotation good enough, you know, because if you don't have Bauer and then Stroman gets hurt, now your rotation is where it was last year, really poorly. So it gives you just a little bit more insurance that you'd be able to deal with the injury a lot better if you have somebody like Bauer in your rotation. And the number 5 reason why the New York Mets should sign Trevor Bauer is it gives you the ability to put Seth Lugo in the bullpen. And I think that's a really, really important reason because, like I've said, the Mets bullpen has just been so bad recently, and you don't trust these guys in a big game. No Met fan can tell me that they trust Brad Brock or they trust Familia or Betances or Miguel Castro or Edwin Diaz with runners on base in the 9th inning of a close game against a team like the Braves. You don't trust any of them. I know you don't because I don't. And no Met fan should because the pitchers have not shown us that they're worthy of their trust with how many games they have blown this year. I'll give you a perfect example. How about that Friday night game in the beginning of the season with the New York Mets against the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta when the Mets blew that huge lead led by Dellin Betances? That should never happen. I'm still not over that game because of how disappointing it was. So it shows you just how much help the Mets need in the bullpen. And if Lugo's in the rotation, you don't have your best reliever. So if you have Bauer and, like I said, all these other guys, and you maybe get one more starting pitcher just to hold it down until Syndergaard comes back, it allows you to keep Lugo in the bullpen, and your bullpen becomes much, much better, which all around would make your team better. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I do hope that the Mets can get Trevor Bauer because, like I said, it would help them out so much, and they really need him. He would be my top priority in the offseason right now is getting Trevor Bauer to the Mets. That's what I really want to do because I feel like at catcher, there's still some good alternatives. I feel like James McCann is a very good alternative. Yadi Molina isn't too bad for a couple years, and you could call up Francisco Alvarez just for the time being. You know, and I think at shortstop, the Mets are okay there. Jimenez, he's okay for now, and there's a great free agent class next year. So I think that if you could get a Correa or a Trevor Story or Javi Baez, I think you'd still be okay at short. And then in center field, I mean, Nimmo you could get by because you could put Dom in a corner, you could put somebody else in a corner, whoever it is, you could get by. with not having Trevor Bauer, you can't get by. You will not make it. The team will not be able to win if you try to get by without Trevor Bauer, because I think that for me, since Charlie Morton is off the free agent block, there is such a drop-off between Bauer and the rest of these guys. Like, there's Bauer, and then there's your Kluber and Tanaka and Odorizzi and Paxton and all these other guys. They are not on the same class as Trevor Bauer. And starting pitchers is so important. You can't settle for the second or third bench. You got to go for the top guy. I mean, if you're a team that has the money, go for it. The Mets really have got to try to get Bauer here. I hope that the asking price isn't too crazy, especially year-wise. I mean, I know it's not my money, but I think years could be more of a concern for a team than just overall dollar signs, because as of right now, there is no salary cap, and I think that if Bauer doesn't age well and he starts being inconsistent again, and if you're paying him when he's 37, 38, that would not be ideal, especially for a pitcher when you really have high hopes and high expectations for. So the one-year deal would be great, but I think even 5, you could get by. I think that he would do very well for at least 5 years as a member of the New York Mets, and try to extend DeGrom when you can, just to have those two horses. And then you see what Syndergaard has, because if Syndergaard has a good year, you can extend him. If he doesn't, you can let him go. Same with Stroman, since he's on a one-year deal. Syndergaard and Stroman are going to be motivated. So I think that you'll have a much better understanding if you want to keep these guys long-term, because if Syndergaard and Stroman struggle, you let him go. David Pearson, you get to find out, is he the real deal? Is he a guy that you could count on being your star rotation, a number 4, number 5? There's a lot of question marks that are going to be answered for the Mets this year within their rotation, assuming that they stay healthy this time around. And just having Trevor Bauer would make the Mets such a better team, and it will allow for them to be more competitive and be one of those winning teams like the rest of the league. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and until the next one, be safe, be smart, be healthy, and let's go Mets.